So welcome to the Project Communities course. This is a little introduction to give you some sense of what this course is about and why we think it's important. I have to admit I have a little cheat sheet with you, so you may see me looking down to make sure I get it right. Now, I think one of the things that happens when we think about design is we have this myth, this heroic myth of the solo designer. And yes, Steve Jobs was amazing, but he's not the only kind of designer, and through history, brilliant thinkers, designers, and engineers have actually used their peers and colleagues to inform their work, even if it meant like sending a letter via a boat that took 6 months to get there, or just working with the people around you. So this idea is that we can think about ideas and germinate those ideas and work on those ideas, not in isolation, but with other brains. And today, in today's world, we're facing lots of complex problems that really ask us to use more than our own brains, but to use the brains of the people around us, so that we're designing things that can be the best possible thing, whether it's a commercial product or a product that might save the world and help someone get access to water or housing or light in their house. So the Project Communities course is to look at how do we tap into this wider world. And we don't have to send letters by boat anymore. We have this thing called the internet that can actually help us reach more diverse people than ever before, people who aren't like us, who could help shape, inform our thinking, our designing, our implementing, and our distribution of these products. So Project Community is to explore at least 4 kinds of online groups and networks to understand what value they bring to the design process, and then also to think about how we behave in those different kinds of groups in productive ways, how group size matters, how the kinds of connections or relationships we have with people does or doesn't matter in a particular context. So we're going to have a good time learning from and with and from each other, but let me tell you about the 4 sort of design hats. Now there's this guy called Edward deBono who has this thing called the 6 thinking hats, and this kind of inspired me for the 4 design hats. So the first design hat I want to put on is of crowdsourcing. So this idea that we can tap other people to understand what are the needs out there that we're trying to design for, what ideas are out there, and this idea of crowdsourcing is very popular, and innovation is actually has some roots in this crowdsourcing idea, not just an individual genius. Now, I don't want to discount. If you're an individual genius, that's brilliant. But we're going to look at how we use this crowdsourcing. Now, in the international development context, the people that we might want to serve may or may not be online, so we have to work through intermediaries. But there's this assumption that it's not just the international development practitioners that know everything we need to know in order to design for that context. The second one is once we have an idea, we've got that itch and idea, we have to actually start working on it. And that's the team hat. And the team hat requires a different kind of thing, rather where the crowdsourcing is about diversity and divergent ideas, the team is about converging. Project management, focus, role allocation, trust, timelines, delivery, getting stuff done. So we'll look a little bit about online team dynamics and distributed team dynamics. And what we learn here is applicable for both face-to-face and online, but we'll pay attention to some of the unique differences of online. The third hat is crowdfunding. Now, if you have a trust fund and you have lots of money and you could just do anything you want, that's great. Most of us don't. And so how do we connect great ideas with people who are willing to invest in those ideas? And in international development, that could be very diverse from a big foundation, or it could be individuals bringing little bits of money towards how that can happen. So we'll look at crowdfunding, which is really a hot thing these days. In fact, of the top 10 technology trends for nonprofits in a recent report, they talked about crowdfunding and crowdsourcing as as one of the top 10 future trends for international development organizations and nonprofits. And finally, the fourth hat is, putting it into use, implementation. So how do you market your product? How do people learn how to use it, give feedback for improvement? So this idea of marketing, support communities and customer communities where they actually can innovate in ways that you never thought of with your idea and take it even further. Again, this idea that all of us are smarter than any one of us at any one time. So these 4 hats will be used to bring together this thing of how do you use the network, communities, to go from the design process from beginning to end. The way we're going to do it is we're not going to give you lots of content. We're going to ask you hard questions and point you out to the world so you can use your networks, you can use the internet, you can use lots of things to begin answer these questions. but it is a discovery process, not a delivery of information. So we learned last year that we have this principle of confusiasm. You might be confused, but we'll be enthusiastic about it. And we're all co-learners in this journey. So it isn't like there's one single answer. But I do say that the side of, this kind of self-driven learning is you have to learn to ask questions back and how to find answers. So if there's anything in terms of a basic learning skill, asking and answering questions can be a fundamental thing here. The second thing is that you're going to apply your learning towards a project with a real NGO. We're going to learn a little bit about the Millennium Development Goals, if they're unfamiliar to you, and about designing for the context of international development, which is basically about people getting the basic necessities of their lives available to them: water, food, housing, education, healthcare, and, some kind of ability to live in the world. So these projects we're going to build week by week. We're going to inquire around different aspects, the 4 hats, some other perspectives, and towards the end you're going to create a short video that you'll actually present to an NGO and to your peers to tell them what you've learned about how they could use networks and communities online to help address one or more of their problems. So it's real world, it is complex, it may be confusing, but we're going to go at it with confusiasm. And I'm really happy to be along on the ride with you here from Seattle, Washington. And Alan, who's in Arizona, we will be with you online as much as possible, almost like we were there with you. So we're looking forward to Project Community 2013. I expect amazing things. And that's it.